Most people don't plan to destroy their own lives, but destruction rarely begins with chaos. It begins with silence, with tiny, almost invisible fractures in the mind. The truth about certain married women is rarely spoken, not because it's hidden, but because it's inconvenient. Because if men truly understood it, they'd never look at polite smiles or casual conversations the same way again. See, the women most vulnerable to temptation aren't broken. They're not immoral. They're simply human. Temptation doesn't arrive like a storm. It drips, slowly, silently, into the cracks of unmet needs. No one wakes up and says, "Today, I will betray everything I once protected." It never starts there. It starts in the soft places, the overlooked moments. A heartbeat quickens from a message that isn't from her partner. A compliment, unexpected and warm. A gaze that lingers longer than it should, and isn't dismissed. Psychological studies confirm boundaries don't shatter, they erode. One casual step, one private thought, one flicker of curiosity that slips under the radar. And then one day, she looks at her reflection and realizes she doesn't recognize the eyes staring back. The real question isn't, why do some women cheat? That question is far too crude, too simple. The real question is this: why are some women so easy to pull in, without them even realizing it? And deeper still, how do they explain it to themselves before it even happens? That's what we're about to expose. 1. The unspoken void. Why some married women secretly crave external attention. At its highest form, marriage is a bond, a meeting of minds, a rhythm of mutual elevation. But not every bond stays alive. Not every rhythm remains electric. Some women, even after years of shared history, begin to notice something fading. And it's not just affection, it's identity. See, most people believe these women are seeking excitement, a forbidden thrill. But in reality, many of them are searching for something much deeper, something they didn't even know they lost. Connection, not just touch, not just duty, but the soul-level connection that once made them feel seen. In the beginning, that connection is effortless. Late-night talks, stolen glances, the magnetic pull of feeling desired, not for what she does, but for who she is. But over time, repetition dulls intensity. Conversations become logistical. Romance becomes routine. Desire is replaced with efficiency. And eventually, she stops feeling like a woman. She starts feeling like a function. This is where it begins. The most dangerous threat to connection isn't anger, it's indifference. When a woman no longer feels noticed, her subconscious begins scanning for signals. A smile from a stranger, a voice that lingers, an interaction that reminds her she still matters. To the conscious mind, it's harmless, but to the subconscious, it's a spark, a reawakening of a part that was left behind. She doesn't want an affair. She wants to feel alive again. And that feeling? It has nothing to do with betrayal. It feels like rescue. For some, this feeling is compounded by something deeper, the erosion of self. After years of playing roles, partner, mother, caretaker, she forgets who she was before those roles consumed her, before the routines, before the labels. She was a mystery, an individual, a flame. She's the keeper of order, the manager of tasks, and somewhere in that transformation, she disappears from herself. So when someone looks at her and doesn't see a role, but sees her, something ancient awakens. It's not about the man, it's about the mirror, the reflection that says, "You are still here, I still see you." And for a woman who's been starving for that recognition, that moment becomes addictive, not physically, but emotionally, psychologically, existentially. She isn't chasing the man, she's chasing the memory of who she used to be. And for that feeling, she will walk dangerously close to the edge. Not because she plans to leap, but because the warmth on the other side feels like oxygen. 2. The justification game. No one declares betrayal out loud. It doesn't begin with intention. It begins in silence, the kind that wraps itself around a lonely heart and whispers, "This isn't wrong, it's just what you need." See, when a woman crosses emotional lines, it's rarely because she wants to. It's because she's already created a story that allows her to. A subconscious script, an internal theater where she plays both victim and hero at the same time. It starts innocently. a small exchange, a moment of laughter, an eye contact that holds for just a second too long. She tells herself, it's nothing, just a bit of attention, a harmless connection, just words. But words, especially the right ones, can become a drug. And once the emotional body responds, the logical mind starts bending, rearranging reality to match the feeling. This is the subconscious shield, the protective narrative that prevents the weight of guilt from sinking in. The mind cannot carry contradiction for long. When a person's actions clash with their values, tension builds. It buzzes under the skin, a friction between who they are and what they're doing. And so the brain intervenes, not with logic, but with seduction. It whispers, I'm not doing anything wrong. It's just talking. Everyone needs a little attention. It's harmless, because I would never go too far. The mind is a brilliant liar when protecting the heart from itself. This process has a name. It's not emotion, it's not guilt. It's a psychological mechanism that turns betrayal into justification. The more tension she feels, the more elegant her excuses become. She starts minimizing. It's just flirting. She starts shifting blame. If I felt wanted at home, I wouldn't need this. She starts creating compartments. This isn't about my marriage. This is just for me. And in that moment, she isn't betraying, she's reclaiming. That's the illusion. Because the first betrayal is never physical. The first betrayal is always emotional, and emotional betrayal is far more dangerous than people realize. Because it's invisible, it's untraceable, it looks like friendship, it sounds like conversation, but beneath the surface, it's detachment. One late-night text, one emotionally charged exchange, one moment where she confides in another man instead of the one she shares a life with. And just like that, her allegiance begins to shift. The deepest betrayal isn't the body, it's the heart. And when she shares her heart outside the relationship, the physical becomes inevitable. At first, lying feels unnatural. She hesitates, her pulse races. She deletes a message, she rehearses a response. She tells herself it's just for now, just until she feels better. But repetition is hypnosis. The more she justifies, the less she questions. And what once felt like danger now feels like escape. Then comes the most dangerous shift of all, the entitlement frame. The moment she tells herself, I deserve this. Not, I'm doing something wrong. Not, I should stop. But this is mine. Her mind has now fully reframed the act. No longer a betrayal, but a reward. The sacrifice, the years, the effort, the neglect, all of it becomes currency. Currency she now believes she can spend. I've done everything right. I've been faithful this long. I gave everything and got nothing back. I have a right to feel good again. At this point, she's no longer walking the line. She's redrawn it. And behind that new line, anything becomes justifiable. The emotional connection she's developed outside her marriage now feels more real than the one inside it. And that is the turning point. She no longer believes she's betraying anything. She believes she's restoring herself. Once the story is rewritten, there is no reasoning with it, because now the mind isn't protecting the marriage, it's protecting the fantasy, and fantasies are stronger than facts. So why are some married women so easy to pull in? Because the game doesn't begin with seduction. It begins with permission, the kind she gives herself, long before anything physical ever happens. And by the time the line is crossed, it's not just her heart that's left the relationship, it's her identity. 3. The breaking point. The chains of habit are too weak to be felt until they become too strong to break. Every story like this follows a familiar arc. It begins with a spark, then flickers into warmth, and finally ignites a fire she never meant to light. At first, it's all in the mind. Harmless thoughts, private fantasies, little indulgences tucked behind polite smiles. But thoughts left unchecked become openings, and openings, over time, become portals. The moment of no return doesn't come with fanfare, it comes quietly. The first message she sends that makes her hesitate, the first meetup framed as just friends, the first brush of touch that lingers longer than it should, and isn't resisted. In that moment, something irreversible happens, not just between two bodies, but within one identity. Because here's the truth most people never understand. The hardest part isn't crossing the line, it's crossing it the first time. After that, the threshold lowers, the conscience softens, and the new path feels easier. The mind, now fully reprogrammed by repetition, no longer sees danger. It sees routine. What once felt like betrayal now feels like a lifestyle. And the scariest part? It starts to feel normal. This is where the lie takes root. I can stop whenever I want. But can she? Not likely, because now it's no longer about the other person. It's about the feeling. That feeling becomes a drug, a surge of dopamine, a chemical cocktail of attention, excitement, and emotional novelty. And like any addictive substance, it rewires the brain. She starts needing the interaction, not for the man, but for the mirror he holds. The mirror that reflects a version of herself she thought was gone. And when a woman becomes addicted to her own reflection in someone else's eyes, reality loses its grip. Lying becomes second nature. She edits the truth before it even forms. She hides messages, deletes traces, rehearses stories. The first time she felt guilt. Now she feels strategy. She becomes more careful, more calculated, not out of shame, but preservation. And soon even guilt fades. It's replaced with entitlement, justification, a distorted sense of justice. The most chilling transformation is this. She stops seeing her marriage as her primary relationship. That bond, the one built over years, is now secondary, because her heart already belongs elsewhere. Not because she hates her partner, not because she wants to destroy everything, but because she has convinced herself that what she's found is something she'll never reclaim at home. This is the final collapse, the shift no one sees coming, where even if no physical betrayal has occurred, emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically, she's already gone. And when that happens, only two outcomes remain. She gets caught, or she leaves, unable to maintain the illusion of a double life. But either way, the result is the same. The fracture is complete, and the return is impossible, because the line has not just been crossed, it has been erased. So why are some married women the easiest to draw in? Because they're not looking to cheat, they're looking to feel, to awaken, to be seen, to remember themselves. And once they taste that feeling, once they breathe that oxygen, walking away feels like drowning, not because they don't care about what they've built, but because they believe, deep down, that what they've found cannot be found again. And once that belief sets in, nothing can pull them back. But here's what separates the blind from the architect. The architect sees it all coming. He reads the signals. He decodes the silences. He recognizes the shifts long before they become actions. And with that awareness, he holds the one thing most never do: power. The power to see through illusions. The power to navigate what others deny. The power to influence, redirect, or walk away before the damage becomes destiny. Because once you understand how this game works, you'll never be played again. This is the spell of the architect. This is the truth behind the smile. And this is how influence begins. You've just seen the invisible. Now, you can't unsee it. You no longer walk blind. You read the signals. You feel the shifts. You hold the power. And those who hold power don't chase influence. They become it. Welcome to the inner circle. Subscribe to the Stoic Architect. Return, rewire, rise, and above all, watch what comes next, because the next spell changes everything.